Welcome to the Deucecast Extra. As promised, myself and Dr. Earl are back.
We're back
to talk some Yellowstone. This time we're going to talk episode 2 of season 3. It's a great show. If you haven't seen the first 2 seasons, I would highly recommend going back and watching those on the Paramount Network. I believe there's probably all kinds of ways that you can watch it. I believe streaming for free. Yes, if you have a cable subscription. If you have a cable subscription, streaming for free. But
that's true. You have to have a cable subscription.
But this episode, and I didn't realize this, they actually have episode titles for these things. This particular episode was titled "Freight Trains and Monsters." What do you think that might allude to, Dr. Earl? Freight trains and monsters. The only thing I could think of was maybe the wolf is considered the monster, or maybe even Hayden is considered a monster. You know, the livestock agent. And you know, in his runaway train, his runaway freight train. But
here's what I think.
What do you
Michael. think? I think the monster. You know, of course, it starts off with Casey's son. It's Casey, right? His little boy. I forget the boy's name. He's having those memories of like his sort of abduction.
Yeah, PTSD basically.
Yeah. And then there is the wolf that comes in. But then the freight train. So I think there's some aspect of that. But the freight train is this idea of modern progress with Josh Holloway's.
I like that.
You can't stop this progress we're going to do in your valley, which I guess is a plot point that we could go into a little bit at some point. But
no, yeah, I mean, and
anyway.
the official episode synopsis. So I'm going to try and do that every week. Is kind of read like the official episode synopsis. But the Duttons open camp, which proves to be the best therapy for Tate, Jamie, and Hendon. Jamie and Hendon agree to teach a lesson to 2 criminals, but it does not go as intended. Beth learns more about Rourke's business plans, and Teeter joins the bunkhouse.
What's her name? Teeter?
Teeter. Come on, man. Teeter. No, it's Teeter.
She was a little raw. She was a little rough.
But, she was a little rough. I mean, the episode the episode kind of starts, Jamie has been tasked with being, the head of the livestock agency that Dutton used to sort of run. So he's given it to his son, Jamie. And right away, as happens with anything that Jamie is involved in, he gets a phone call from the local sheriff that sort of alludes to an issue that occurred at I couldn't tell if it was like a rodeo or a horse show of some type.
There's a circuit, I think, of those two
these 2 guys beat up this girl real bad. And so the sheriff calls on Jamie and says, this kind of falls in your jurisdiction. Why don't you send your guy, and we kind of want to send a message. So right away Jamie is sending
that was Was that the DA doing that? Who was that?
No, that was the sheriff. That was the local sheriff calling and telling him to do that.
I thought he was in a suit, though. He looked like anyway.
And so he sends Hayden, which we were introduced to Hayden like first 2 seasons. I mean, he's always kind of been around, and so he sends him to the. And I guess we could just go by plot point. I mean, on this, but he sends him to this. This horse show or rodeo or whatever, and this girl is really beaten up, and so they're
making a habit of beating up girls too. This was the second episode, right? So anyway, this wasn't like a one time. It was a pattern with these 2 thugs.
And so Hayden sort of has an idea of what he wants to do with them. He wants to sort of rough them up a little bit, but do it sort of away from where the crime took place. So he throws him in back of a horse trailer and just takes them on down the road and starts slings them about, causes all kinds of damage to these guys. And he seems surprised when he opens that horse trailer to find that these two guys are dead.
Well, let me say something about that being a doctor
yeah.
just for a second. So
yeah, I want to hear that. Yeah.
You know, he what he does is he swerves this horse trailer all around. These
Right.
guys are handcuffed, so they can't really, and they're flung about. I don't know though the probability of both of them breaking. So can we do spoilers here?
Yeah, we're doing spoilers.
The probability of both of them having their necks broken and dying is pretty. That would be very spread. Now I could see maybe one of them having that situation.
Yeah.
But man, that's where they went. That's fine. I mean, they're going to play for the high drama. But
oh yeah.
But I was like, well, yeah. I mean, the chance of that is. I mean, they're both going to be pretty banged up, and I'm not. You know, that was his goal. He just didn't think about the chance that somebody could fall just right and break that cervical spine and be dead. So
of course, I mean, just to follow the through line of that particular plot point, of course, of course, you know, he ends up in jail. The cops take the guy to jail, and we see at the very end of the episode, he's calling Jamie, and Jamie's got to be thinking, why does this stuff always happen to me? I mean, it's just like it's constant with them. And so it's just one of those things that no, he really can't. He really can't. It's really sad. So you know, the other really big plot point, and I'll let you talk about this one, is kind of like Beth finds out who's involved.
Josh Holloway.
Yeah, she finds out that he's kind of the main guy in and around this venture capitalist company that's wanting to buy all this land.
And they're trying to develop a ski resort in a town, right? Like there's so much, they must have so much land there. They're going to develop like a Breckenridge or
that's the idea.
And an airport to fly into,
and an airport to fly into. Yeah. I mean, basically. So yeah, talk about their meet that they had.
Well, and here's the thing. I was thinking about this, why she's so like disturbed at the end. I think she's thinking, I'm not so sure she's convinced that there's anything they can do about it. And maybe she, like, I'm not so sure that part of the freight train is at this point, maybe she can't stop. Cause this guy's, I mean, he's a cool cat. I mean, I love, so one of the things I really liked was how Josh Holloway played this character.
Oh yeah.
Now she has her moment where she backs over his flowers.
Yeah.
He's like, mind the flowers. And sure enough, and she's her, you know, she's the bad girl, but I could tell that she's more rattled. You know, I've never seen her this rattled.
No, she's rattled because I think you're right. I mean, I think she's has
trying to make a deal with her.
Yeah, I think she's realized that he is Rourke is probably right about the fact that you can't stop progress. And I think it dawns on her that if she really wants to do well by her father, that maybe she should be trying to cut a deal here. That
serious cheddar, you know. I mean, they
make some money. I mean, because that's kind of like she's always been really good at playing the long game. I mean, in her mind, you know, you know, with the whole real estate type of stuff, she's always been good at playing the long game. So she's thinking to herself, this Rourke guy, who we find out, you know, in the first episode, he grew up in this area. He just went away, probably went to school and lived life, and then now he's come back, you know, realizing there's a lot of money to be made.
There's a new sheriff in town, boys.
There's a new sheriff in town, exactly.
That's his quote from Lost with him.
Yeah, we kind of see, like you said, Earl, she sort of storms away, but is kind of really like disturbed about this whole opportunity that she's going to have to bring to her dad at some point and explain to him what's going on. You know, I think another one of the big things that happens in this episode, you know, just as far as further character development, I mean, we really find Monica falling more into the family. You know, she's always kind of fought against being part of the family in a way, just because, I mean, she's always wanted to remain with her people a lot, with her Native American
Right.
people, and she
Her
fought.
distinct identity. Yeah.
Yeah, she fought so hard of coming into the fold, into the Dutton fold with Casey, but she misses him, and so she goes up to the camp. She goes up to the base camp, basically. And there's a kind of a weird scene that Casey's job right now is to go and try and stop these wolves from getting to the cattle, right? And so we see him out hunting the wolves or whatever, and then there's a love scene, as happens in these particular shows. But then there's a weird part where he's talking to the wolf, and
yes,
and then Kevin Costner Dutton walks up and said, that's something that my dad was able to do, is really have a relationship with the animals or whatever.
The wolf whisperer.
The wolf was. I'm really finding like this particular season that Dutton, Kevin Costner's character is sort of melancholy this season. He's sort of.
Well,
Go ahead.
I love that scene at the campfire.
Yes.
When he starts on his wife and the biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that got to me, and you could tell.
Yeah.
And I liked how he kind of, there's one scene where Casey says, "Dad, I love you." And he kind of, there's a stop for just a minute, and then he keeps walking.
Mm-hmm.
But then when his dad kind of goes off to sort of mourn, I think Casey gets up and goes with him. And I don't know. I just loved all that. I thought that was some of the best.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Costner's really bringing it this season. Everybody that listens to the Deucecast knows how I feel about Kevin Costner. I mean, he's my man. But I really think this is some of his best acting. I mean, and he really is missing his wife when he's telling that story, and really just has this melancholy attitude about him this year. More that, like, the first two seasons, you think that he's the most cutthroat person on the face of the earth.
Right.
But this season, he's been through so much. He had the illness in the last season, and just has been through so much that I really think that he's focused on family a lot this year, which I believe, in my opinion, will probably make him vulnerable later on. So we'll see with that.
Well, he may get his game face on here soon enough. They've got sort of this, he's kind of in this sort of, I'm just content being with the family. And you can tell he loves this sort of, I forget what they call this thing where they go do the camp out.
Yeah.
And they watch over cattle. There's a term. It's kind of a, I don't know, but you can tell he loves that more than anything.
Yeah.
Just kind of back in the simple life or whatever.
Right. And I mean, and that's a lot of the reason, like, it's funny because you see Monica, she sort of wakes up and she's in this huge mansion cabin by herself, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go see my husband. And there's a really funny scene where this one ranch hand has to give her his horse, so he has to break this horse. And that whole we need to get, I think Roth in Wyoming eventually wants to guest on here, and he has some insight on that type of stuff. We need to get him on here eventually and have him help us out with all the cowboy talk.
And that guy looks like, I think he's a real ranch guy.
He's
a wrangler, because he looks kind of like a more like regular human guy, that they probably had to teach him how to ride. And I like that scene actually, because Cole Hauser looks like he's just kind of laughing and enjoying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a nice little scene where they're watching that guy fight that horse. And then by the end, he's like, "Oh, you broke him, bringing him over here. That's the way to do it," or something.
Yeah. And the other sort of storyline that's going on, with Rip and Beth. I mean, they are, we saw, at the end of episode 1, she spent the night with him, and so he sort of wakes up, and really sweet scene. He's cooking breakfast for her, and she's also been through a lot. I mean, she just got so beat up in season 2, towards the end of the season. Just those guys just about killed her, and she's still really recovering from that. I mean, she likes to play the tough woman, right?
Yeah, that was a great scene when she was eating breakfast.
Man, it was so good because it was just so like acting. an intimate, yeah, very good acting.
Yeah.
Kelly Riley was great in that scene, and Cole Hauser out. I just continued to be baffled with this guy because he was doing nothing before Yellowstone. I mean, Cole Hauser was sort of like a B-lister, has not really,
He's
not
awesome
really.
though, and he's
Yeah, he's great. No, I like him a lot. I think his dad Wingshauser was the same way though. Wingshauser never had a career at all. I mean, and so it's cool to see him really get to really dig into this character, and that's the great thing about a series versus a movie. I mean, with a series, you can develop these characters over years and over seasons, and this is one of those shows that does a really good job with character development. And Rip has, and we got to see a lot of his development, a lot of like where he came from last season. So again, go back and watch those previous seasons if you haven't seen, this.
It's a great role for him. It's just
it's a really good role.
An actor at his stage just to get something this big.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a little clip about him talking about like he had to learn to ride horses. He had to, he's working on roping. All these
that's
things.
cool.
And you could tell how proud he was. Like, yeah, now I'm up to, So it's just kind of neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. And a little
really enjoy.
Another little funny thing that he sort of has a little conversation with Dutton up at the camp, and Dutton Dutton's basically like we need to replace the ranch hand that left. I mean, they lost the Native American girl that was there from last season, and so he's sort of talking to Rip. I was like, if you find another woman, fine, but make sure she's ugly. This is really funny. Make sure she's not a distraction type of thing. To the other ranch hands, and tough, right? And tough, tough and mean.
And
yeah,
they found one.
Yeah, good grief. So they apparently, it is common, and I think we saw this a little bit last season, where they go looking for ranch hands at these different like rodeos. Basically, these people doing basically quick contests so you can rope something quicker, just for quick cash type thing. And this West Texas girl, who we think is named Teeter. That's what if you look
Tater,
at. Yeah, I thought I heard Tater also, but if you look at the description of the show, it says Teeter. Teeter.
Well.
But it's funny because the old ranch hand's like, what is she saying? She's from West Texas. I can't understand a word she's saying. And so she's going to be an interesting character to be joining the bunkhouse. Very foul. Sure. Yeah, and that's another thing. And I don't know if that's what you alluded to last week, but I kind of like am a bit bothered with it. This season, the first two seasons, the language did not seem as prevalent.
It was just kind of TV level language.
Yeah, it was like TV level, but this season it's like, man, they are dropping F-bombs left and right. And usually I'm not bothered by that type of stuff, but it's because that wasn't a character trait that any of these people really had to the extent that they have this season. So it's like, it's hard
like, hey,
to believe.
Inserting this in.
Yeah, it's like they're just all of a sudden, like Paramount Network is like, we're going to be streaming only anyways at some point, so we're just going to do whatever we want to with the content. But what they don't recognize is if you haven't had that particular type of character trait in the first two seasons as you're developing these characters, it can just be a little off-putting. I mean, because it's sort of like out of nowhere.
I mean, I don't mind like the ranch hands being a little rougher and maybe saying stuff, but when you have Monica saying it to a group of students like she did in episode 1, I was like, that doesn't seem like her. You know what I mean? It just seemed kind of, like you said, out of place, off-putting. I just want the characters to be consistent and not feel like they're filling a quota to be more edgy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the character really is that way, that's fine. But you're right. I think it does feel like it's just like we had to amp up the whatever. We got to meet a quota to be edgy or something. I agree with you. I didn't prefer. That's my least favorite part. And I don't with this Teeter character.
Yeah, she's raw.
She just doesn't need to go. I mean, it's not like. I mean, it's like high R. Like,
oh yeah.
It's a step up. So because I think the show before you could like watch it, in your. I think there's a lot of people in like our parents' generation that would probably enjoy the show because it is beautifully shot out in Montana. And it's got this cowboy edge, but when you start putting a lot of that in it, some of these people are going to be like, "Oh, I don't want that."
Right.
That turns me off. So anyway,
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there's a show on Netflix. I don't think it originated on Netflix, but there's a show on Netflix that they sort of picked up the series and ended it called Longmire. That was sort of like about cowboys and that type of thing. And my parents loved that show. But I mean, I don't feel like, as much as I know that my dad and my mom both like Kevin Costner a lot, I don't know that I could recommend this show to them because they've gone so raw with some of the content. And I mean, and it's not like it was a saint of a show the first 2 seasons, but it just
it's violent.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of feels like they've amped it up for whatever reason. I don't know if they're trying to get more advertising and feel like that's the way they have to do it. I mean, I saw, I think it was a couple weeks ago, just a commercial for the Peacock, and for some reason this show was featured as a show that's going to be available on the Peacock. I guess that means that Universal has something to do with this. Even it's on the Paramount network, so it doesn't make much sense to me. But I would have thought it would have been more on like the Viacom thing that's eventually going to come. But anything else about this episode that stuck out to you?
I mean, I just think the whole thing with the camp was beautifully shot. Where they were out there with the cows. It was so idyllic, and I mean, it's a really pretty episode. I do wish, no, I mean, I think we hit everything. I'm trying to think of anything else.
I know that one thing that I loved in this episode was just all the food talk. I was really into the hot cakes that Rip were making, and then they started talking about the biscuit around the fire. I was like, man, I'm hungry as I'm watching this episode. It was really good. But no, I agree. I mean, I just I feel bad for Jamie, obviously, because that dude just always, nothing can ever go right for the guy. So they're continuing that through line, basically, where nothing can go right for him. So obviously he's going to get in trouble. I mean, obviously he's in trouble again.
And I kind of like that deputy guy from last season, and I feel bad for him. The guy that was the one who, because I thought, okay, so he's going to do something. It won't be that bad, just sling the guys around a little bit,
right?
And I think he thought that too.
Well, yeah, because he was having fun. He was having fun, just swerving around. He didn't think that, oh crap, I'm going to kill these guys. I don't think that was his intention at all.
Oh no, not at all. And then he went back and he's like, oh no. So they're, there's a little bit of this idea. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it all plays out, I guess. Because that may come into a factor of leverage against trying to get their land. I'm worried when that company. Oof.
I mean, Jamie's going to have to be a weasel again, and maybe, the thing that you see in episode 1 that they kind of allude to with Jamie and Dutton is that the relationship was strained. John, the relationship was strained from everything that happened in season 2. And John does not trust his son at all. I mean, he just does not trust Jamie at all, but he's trying to give him this opportunity. And it's a bummer that just something bad happens immediately. I mean, it's like he cannot get away from it.
So somehow Dutton and them are going to have to work to help him, I think.
He's going to have to get back involved, and he's supposed to not be. See, he promised the governor that he would not be involved in any of the livestock stuff. And so he's going to have to get back involved, and it's going to be troublesome for Jamie, I think. I mean, it's not.
Rip may be making a visit to him.
I don't know, but I think that's it for episode 2 of Yellowstone season 3. One thing that I forgot to do last week that my daughter reminded me to do, since we're trying to do this YouTube thing, is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. That'll help us out a lot. I mean,
we got the goods for you.
Yeah, if you like Yellowstone, and there's going to be other stuff too. The Deucecast Extra, the Deucecast Extra is not just going to be Yellowstone. There's going to be some really cool stuff happening on our YouTube channel. I think we're going to try and do some interview stuff with this particular format versus a podcast. So, the podcast will continue to be there every week, like it always is on any of your favorite podcast catchers. RetroZap is still our home. And RetroZap will probably help us try and get this thing going on YouTube. The biggest thing is subscribers on YouTube, and liking the videos and sharing. And if you watch this later, if you're not watching it live, make comments, and I'll try and respond to them, and we'll get a dialogue going. But I know this is really specific with what we're doing here, since it's Yellowstone. But like I said, we're going to be doing other stuff with the Deucecast Extra. I mean, we're going to have other stuff
Michael,
on here.
People may, on YouTube, a lot of times people will look for reviews of shows they like. So, I mean, make sure you post it somewhere in there that we're.
I do. I post it on Twitter. It takes a while for these videos to actually post onto the YouTube page after you're done going live. It takes like a good 4 hours for the video to process and actually hit on the YouTube page. But once it does, I'll share it on all the social media. If you see it, please retweet it. I mean, and I'll try and hashtag Yellowstone like I did last time, and try and get this thing going. It's a popular show. A lot of people watch it, and I think it's even already been renewed for a season 4, which is great for us because we'll keep doing this. And so great. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at the Michael Nip on Twitter. We're at the Deucecast on Twitter. As you know, with Dr. Earl, he's Twitterless Dr. Earl, so he cannot be found anywhere. He is unfindable.
Off the grid.
But now
I've got face recognition, so they can
now you've got facial recognition. So now the Japanese or the Chinese government's going to come for you. So thanks for watching.
Deep fakes.
Yeah, the deep fakes, exactly. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will pick back up next week for episode 3.
See you then, Michael.